A lot of you have been wondering if the A's are a serious franchise. Maybe, maybe not. I don't think I'm personally in a position to weigh in on that, but I can tell you one thing. We're a serious podcast, and it's time to get serious about the A's. Welcome back to episode 6 of Funny Ball. We are nearing the end of April. And Trevor, what's the forecast?
The forecast is slight clouds. Partially cloudy? Is that what they'd actually say? I'm going to say slight clouds. All right.
Slight clouds in the forecast. I like it.
Slight clouds. All right. Because they're kind of peeking through a sunny day here. Because coming off of what we could honestly say could be the best stretch of baseball we see this season, and we hope it isn't, but it could be. We got some more wins that we didn't necessarily expect. So overall, of course, not a perfect two series against Cleveland and New York here, but only slightly cloudy. There's some good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I think we're really optimistic about a team that just went 2-5 over the last 2-5? 2-5 over the last 7 games.
Yeah,
the A's got swept by the Cleveland Guardians, but we're not going to talk about that because well, no, we're definitely going to talk about that. And then
we'll talk a little bit about it.
But they split with the Yankees, man. That's like champs, material right there. I heard about the old rivalry of Yankees and A's. I guess it's called like the Hares versus the Squares because it was like the mustaches versus the clean shaven guys. But yeah, man, they split it. The Hares versus Squares split the series, and that was pretty cool.
Hares.
Go Hares! The A's are going to continue their mad march to May against the Baltimore Orioles, which is another series that's on the road, and then they're going to finish off against the Pirates, which I think is a homestand, and they're good to be back in Oakland following what has been a brutal gauntlet of baseball without a break.
Yeah, pretty unfair, but hey, such as being the A's, you gotta deal with the schedule.
Yeah,
but,
slight clouds, but some sun.
Slight clouds.
Hey, if you're a slight clouds, slight sun kind of guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stars and lumps of coal. You want to get into it?
Yeah, man. I mean, we're a bad news first podcast. We've established that very clearly. So I think, I guess we'll be getting to lumps of coal first. So you can go first. I would hate to, put too much good news out there first. But we're gonna chase it with like a little star. Sprinkle that in there.
We're gonna chase these shots of death with some stars.
As we slowly kill you, we're going to add like a bit of optimism about the A's. That's what we're gonna do.
Exactly, just like the news. Okay.
We are the
one
news.
lump of coal. Shea Langoliers. I'll just get out right now. Shea had maybe as bad of a kind of two series at the plate as anyone on this team. Not quite as one guy that I'll get to later. But 3 for 24, 7 strikeouts, and only one walk. He hit a home run, which is great. That's who he is. And if you go 3 for 24 with 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, better hit a home run, Shea. But yeah, just for a 125 batting average, 370 OPS in the last 2 series, no bueno, not good. But the defensive metrics are still right where they've been the past few series, of above average, far above average in some areas. And just like the eye test, I would love for someone to show me a video of any catcher who's just better at throwing runners out, as simple as it sounds. But obviously his pop time is up there with all of the catchers. His arm strength and arm speed is up there with everyone. I think he's topping out right now with miles per hour thrown per throw out attempt. And he's just looked like phenomenal when catching runners. So I would just advise all guys on base to stay there when Shea Langoliers is at behind the plate. But but yeah, just still really impressive stuff. And he started 6 out of the 7 games, which for a catcher is a good stretch of games without an off day. And the pitching staff has remained all right and was really good head into this little 2 series stretch. So I feel bad saying too much negative about what Langoliers has done at the plate with all the great things he's doing catching, and just the improvement too from last season as a catcher. So I have to acknowledge the bad stuff, one lump of coal, but no more than one lump.
Nice. Yeah, I think Shea's defense has been Shea's defense. He had a defensively. He played like Shea Langoliers as this season, and yeah. I mean, he's just a sniper behind the plate. It's awesome to watch.
Yeah,
It's good to see that they're not able to, like. I mean, earlier in like in the season we had like the Red Sox series, failed pickoff attempts, and what have you. But I mean, he's really kind of just held it down since then, and he's been really nice with that. So
I'm pulling
it's
it
great
up
to see.
too. So yeah, I mean, so you're absolutely right that what he's doing well this year are the same things that he did really well last year, and that his like profile is very similar. But like kind of in between the lines and kind of just right there in the lines. His blocks above average rate has gone from 1 percentile in the league to 24 percentile. His framing, and this is all on MLB Savant Statcast. His framing has gone up from 8th percentile to 30th percentile, and his fielding run value, which is the all-encompassing kind of stat of where are you at with the glove, from 7th percentile to currently right now 71st percentile among all catchers. So it's a big jump defensively. And while he's still got the same profile as a catcher, I mean, he has been just so much better. And it's such a small sample size. And, we'll see how this continues, and maybe those, areas as a catcher that he's still, below average in, maybe he kind of just regresses back to where he was last year. But maybe he doesn't. And so that's what I'm excited for potentially.
Yeah, I like that. And I like how they kind of ended on a positive note for him. So I'm actually going to continue that positive energy with my first star, because I'm
Please.
awarding the first ever get well soon star to Zach Geloff. So Zach Geloff had a really tough break, hitting the injured list with a strained oblique. I believe they described it as some kind of abdominal injury, and he was just starting to kind of turn it around at the plate a little bit, like kind of. I mean, I think just
I mean,
overall,
yeah, sure. I
yeah,
agree.
yeah, and it's he's kind of had a rough start to the year at the plate, but he was starting to turn it around. He's on the 10-day list. I've heard some reports that he could be out upwards closer to a month, but we'll see. Kotze actually put him in the 6 hole in the batting lineup to kind of get his mojo back. I thought that was an interesting choice, but it seemed like he was finding a bit of success with that in game 1 of the Yankee series after going 0-3 in his first 3 plate appearances. I think it was in the ninth inning, yeah, and then he fell 0-2 in the count, worked that count, the 2-2, and he blasted the go-ahead homer against a lefty who he's actually struggled mainly against in most of his career. It just kind of sucks that he has to hit the injured list just when he shows a nice flash like that. But welcome back, Daryl Hernandez. Like he's gonna be here to stay, I guess, for a little bit, and that'll be cool too. So it's a bummer. Get well soon, Zach Eloff. But we see you, and we hope that you continue improving.
Definitely an appropriate get well soon star. Very,
Yeah,
very good usage there.
thank you.
But yeah, man, it's tough. He was just, his appearances were looking better, and he was walking a little bit more, driving up the count a bit more, and that was a big home run that he hit in the Yankee series. So, just for the guy who we came into the season kind of the most excited for, struggled as he did, but really, I mean, if you were to have gone on and really struggled after this Yankee series, if you stayed healthy, we wouldn't have been shocked. But we definitely wouldn't have been shocked too if you really started to pick it up and put together a really nice stretch after that Yankee series. So really tough timing. There never is a good time to get hurt, but really tough timing if there ever is one. So yeah, get well soon.
Passing it back to you for lumps of coal.
Yeah, I wanted to prolong the amount of time, that I had to say who gets 2 lumps of coal because I don't like giving out these lumps of coal, Will.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts me too. It hurts us as a podcast that, we have to do this, but that's the burden that we bear when we watch the Oakland A's.
Talking
You know?
about the bad things that they do.
Yeah.
Well, 2 lumps of coal is going to Joe Boyle. So the stats: 9 innings pitched, 2 starts, 9 strikeouts, 8 walks, 8 hits allowed, 2 home runs allowed, 9 earned runs in those 9 innings, and a 1.78 WHIP. If anyone cares about those last two, and yeah, 8 walks. And the story, the ballad of Joe Boyle is, he could be electric, dare I say dominant, if he keeps runners from, getting to the bases on walks. But yeah, that's been just a huge struggle on the season so far for him, is just keeping runners off base with the base on balls. So he only pitched 3 innings in his second start, which is rough. And the first start, actually, there's a few quiet innings that I was a little hopeful that he would settle in. It looked like he was maybe going to settle in, but then just when you give up, a walk and a hit every inning for a few innings straight, usually teams are going to put enough together to eventually get to you. And that's what happened in both games, but especially that Cleveland one.
Yeah.
And I just have to mention it, that balk to Judge right before giving up the home run is like the most tragic thing that can maybe happen to a pitcher, is throwing strike three to inarguably one of the best hitters in all of baseball, looking totally, he was walking back to the dugout, and then to have the umpire call it back, say it was a balk, move the base runner from first to second, next pitch, Judge goes deep. That's bad. That's unfair. But it doesn't change the fact that he walked 8 guys in 2 starts. So, and one, I'll end it on a positive. We're bad news first, and getting into a bases loaded jam against Juan Soto and getting out of it, pretty good.
That is pretty good. I think Joe Boyle's whole arc is that like he has to be like he's facing the worst possible trials, and it's just like up to him. Like he's kind of going through the hero's journey right now, just like trying to get out of it. But
Yeah,
that's like the Joe Boyle story. Maybe the Joe
we'll
Woods
see.
story. Probably just the Joe Boyle story.
The Joe Wood story, man. Is Joe Wood like the worst attributes of Joe Boyle and Alex Wood? Is that what we decided, or
Uh,
is?
well, no. We were saying that it was if Joe Boyle and Alex Wood combined their powers for good, and
Oh, it's the
then
opposite. See, I
right.
forgot.
It's like, and then because one's a righty, one's a lefty, they were like, and then like
Right,
threw
right.
the
Joe
first
Wood's the
ever.
best pitcher on the team. Then that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So maybe a little Joe Wood coming on
Yeah, but in
here.
order to find the Joe of Joe Wood, Joe Boyle has to kind of find himself, in
Mm,
these struggles, and that's
profound.
my 2 cents on that for 2 lumps of coal.
Sold. Your 2 cents. I'll take it. I like it.
Go buy yourself a
Um,
gumball with those 2 cents.
Not anymore. Well,
Oh,
I wish, man.
they have it. Oh, I haven't heard. I
Yeah,
can't.
man.
I
They
can't.
they took the 1 cent gumballs off the market, man.
Oh, God, man, we used to be a country. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. You used to go into your favorite diner, get a gumball after eating an omelet.
That's
Can't
horrendous,
even
man.
can't even do the little things anymore.
Yeah.
But who are your stars going to?
My 2 stars, they're going to JP Sears. That dude had himself a game, man. The first win against the Yankees, he fanned 7 in 6 innings, gave up 3 hits, walked one, pitched, kept them scoreless. That was awesome. I mean, the whole game was a pitching clinic, but JP Sears was strutting his stuff. It was nasty. Um, it's really nice to see that he's been able to string together a couple of really solid starts. Even just looking at like, there are some his overall pitch and run value is much improved from last year. His fastball run value has been like, he's not quite painting the corners how you want to, but his breaking run value has been like awesome. He's actually in the 98th percentile with that. But JP Sears is like looking, I'm not going to use the A word. We're not going to use the A word on a pitcher just yet. But this dude's pitching like, him and Paul Blackburn are like pitching to be the best pitchers on the team right now. I'm really excited to just see him continue to string together good starts, especially against like a proven lineup like the Yankees. I believe his next start's coming in the Orioles series, but
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, definitely. I guess with the way it lines up, but yeah, I'm just really happy to see that out of him. So 2 stars for
Yeah.
him.
Hell yeah, man. Definitely deserving. I mean, mowed him down. No other way to put it. In the boogie down. And yeah, just I like you said, hope to see him just kind of continue to build on it because we kind of knew that those first couple starts he made in the year that wasn't like the real him, and there'd be some sort of regression to a mean there. But yeah, to see him kind of so quickly turn it around has been awesome, and really excited. Another crazy lineup in Baltimore. So if he is able to go there just as he went to Yankee Stadium and do that, I mean that'd be crazy impressive. And you always love a good revenge story going back to the team that dealt you. And I feel like we can say this at this point. They dealt him to the A's. Like he couldn't have been that happy. Like
At the time,
JP
yeah, I'm
Sears,
sure.
yeah, like he could have been sent to Los Angeles. He could have Miami, even though it's a bad team. Could have been Miami, and yeah, just maybe
Really?
not the desired location. But the fact that yeah, he's kind of looking like what we expected, and to go and kind of get the last laugh or one of the last laughs against the Yankees, he could go on to get shelled from here on out. But at least for however long until he pitches against them again, he's got the laugh.
Yeah, and I guess you could say that the Yankees did him a little dirty with that, but
A
yeah,
little
man,
bit.
a
Well,
little bit.
because there's a chance that he was actually going to get time for the Yankees that year. So, I mean, um, yeah, talk about not unexpected. But yeah, good 2 stars.
All right, so I guess we'll do honorable mentions before we drop a
Sure.
third. All right.
Yeah, I only have one this time. And for lumps of coal, honorable mention. And I'm conflicted by it, thus, his inclusion as an honorable mention rather than getting any actual lump of coal. But Kyle Muller, only pitched 4 innings, so if you compare him to a start, 4 innings is still a pretty good amount for 2 series, especially for a relief pitcher. But not a crazy amount of actual time on the mound, and 4 runs too. It's not like he had a crazy implosion. Only two of them earned, but 8 hits allowed, 2 times as many hits allowed as innings pitched, which is never good. And I was a little just disappointed by what his role was in in these 2 series. It makes sense. I mean, you need someone to be able to pitch and mop up duty. But I feel like we should be giving Kyle Muller opportunities to, if not be a near the back of the bullpen guy, or a like sixth and seventh inning guy, and what Andrew Miller did throughout his career for Cleveland and New York. Then we should have him as a starter. I think it's a waste of his talents using him in mop up duty. And then like when he goes out there in mop up duty, he gives up twice as many hits as he innings pitched. It's tough. It feels like a little bit of a double whammy. And because it's not, really his fault. And again, 2 earned runs in 4 innings, and that's going to happen to literally anyone that ever pitches in the big leagues at any point, if you pitch for long enough. But yeah, I just didn't have a great taste in my mouth exiting these 2 series when it comes to Kyle.
Yeah, and I think it's at a certain point, it's kind of like what is he doing that that the start like oh sorry what are the starters doing that he isn't already doing? That's what I meant to say. It's it like I don't I don't know if we're quite in demotion territory yet, but like, yeah, Kyle Muller definitely, yeah, he should be seeing some time like further, further up in the game, not just like, being used as the band-aid to stop the bleeding when things really get out of hand.
Exactly. Like, I get it. Once you make the decision in spring training or whenever they made the decision to go with the starting rotation that they did, well, when Kyle Muller's not a part of that, I don't think it's smart. And pitchers need to work themselves up or down in terms of pitch load going into being a relief pitcher or a starting pitcher. So it's not even like you can transition from one to the other super fast. But I don't think it's smart to anytime soon start Kyle Muller in a lot of games once you've already made the decision to take him out of the pen. But there's just so many ways out of the pen that you can utilize him a bit better, or at least learn more about him. Like I feel like a guy pitching in a 7-1 game and pitching 2 or 3 innings, you're never really gonna learn too much. I feel like because I you can never take something from a performance like that and then say, oh, well, then, when the pressure's a bit more on, the A's are up or down by 1 or 2 runs, then he's got to perform. Like, no, you don't learn anything positive from being in 7-1. And I also think it's good to keep the perspective as we shouldn't take too many negatives when a pitcher struggles coming into a non-competitive game. So that's why this honorable mention for Lumpsicle, it has almost as much to do with just athletics coaching than Kyle himself. But definitely just worth mentioning in a negative context, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. So my honorable mention, and there's a few for stars, but because I think there were actually some brighter spots for a stretch that went 2-5, but I'm gonna give it to Lucas Urseg because I think Lucas Urseg is just he's setting the table. That's like my analogy for it because he's clearing the runway. He's getting put in there, and usually like in a seventh, eighth inning type situation, and his job is to like cool it, kind of calm everything down, holding everything together. He's a bit of the glue guy, and he's just like he's setting the table for the absolute fireworks show that is the A's closing at this point. More on that later. Did you actually know? And I actually saw a post about this that Urseg was an infielder prospect for the Brewers back in like 2021. He was actually kind of trying to develop as a two-way player. So he was hitting
I know
223.
that.
Yeah, he was hitting 223 in the minors with the Brewers. He actually had a 5.29 ERA, so he actually did kind of struggle with his pitching. I mean, he wasn't really a natural pitcher coming out of shoot, I forget where he was drafted, but wherever he went to college, Lucas Ursig
You don't know where
University.
Lucas Erceg went to
Yeah, I
college?
don't. It's
Gosh,
just I
well,
should
you're
know that.
not.
I'm gonna just do that right now. All right, where did he go to college?
I guess you really don't know the A's, man.
Oh, he's from Menlo, Menlo, California. That's what comes up. Menlo.
Obviously.
Yeah, of course. But
Come
anyway,
on, Will.
yeah, but if you're digging in, but anyway, back to just like what he's been doing now when he wasn't trained to be the next Shohei Ohtani. He made his debut last season for the A's, and his slider has improved from last season. That's kind of become like a really effective pitch of his. It's achieved a significantly higher whiff rate than last season. I think it's almost like double, or the whiff rate from last year. We've also seen a slight increase in his velocity across the board. Interestingly enough, he's actually also gotten rid of his cutter from his arsenal this year,
Hmm.
which is interesting because it seemed like there were some stats supporting that he was actually that it had some nice stuff, but he wasn't quite executing it well. But then it's just kind of completely removed from his arsenal this season. But he's been really awesome. They're just, I mean, pretty much any game that they put him in. I mean, he mostly hasn't seen time as a closer. It's mostly just like a late reliever, but he's been great. Lucas Urseg has been really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for that fireworks show coming in the ninth inning, he would be getting a bunch more buzz. But but yeah, geez, how thankful are we to have him and another guy kind of heading the back of games on the mound? Pretty cool, pretty good. I don't have much to add to what you said. That was all really good, and just Yeah, good stuff. Kind of out of nowhere to have a guy kind of plop in like this, and I'm excited to see what we get back for him after the deadline.
And now back to the lumps of coal.
Yeah. As
Oh,
we say, the bad news first.
yeah. Oh,
Okay, three lumps of coal. Let's get serious. Seth Brown, just very. It probably feels a lot worse than it actually was. But 3 for 19, 7 strikeouts, no walks, same batting average as on base percentage, one extra base hit, one RBI, which was actually a pretty big RBI when it came. It was a first inning RBI, but as big as a first inning RBI can feel, I think. And but yeah, 158 batting average, 368 OPS for a small sample size, but just one of the worst drops you're going to see by an outfielder playing at the professional level and especially Major League Baseball, and just how much it meant in the moment. And
yeah. That
sometimes in
was
football,
bad.
they will like call a ball that's going, how 80 miles an hour. I don't know how fast football throws usually are, but however fast they usually are, crazy, ridiculous, speed, and a guy not being able to catch it while three defenders are around him and he's having to dive backwards. And people will call that a drop. This was as legitimate as a drop as you're going to have in professional sports. He literally dropped it, and that's going to happen. Every outfielder will have a play like that happen in their career. So it is what it is, probably, you think. But for his to come in the moment that it came in, and on the heels of what's been a pretty awful season defensively for Seth Brown, yeah, just no bueno. No bueno. To also combine the drop and just pretty poor defense, getting the balls pretty slowly and grading out pretty negatively on every defensive metric, to chip in there with the worst batting average and OPS in this stretch out of any member on the team. An unapologetic three lumps of coal given from me.
Yeah. No, I think the Seth Brown not that we were really a Seth Brown apologist podcast here, but that's kind of sounds weird to say, but the buck stops eventually, and I mean, if his defense, especially if his defense isn't isn't up to snuff, and it's just an atrocious drop that he had. I mean, you know he sure as heck better be hitting, and he's not. It's just he isn't, and not like many guys in the A's are hitting right now, but like if your bread and butter is your hitting, and that's not even there, then yeah, no, he's been gross.
It's one
It's
thing to be
been
in line
gross.
with all the other guys that are struggling. It's another to be struggling more than all of them.
Yeah, if you manage to
Um,
stand out from all that, that's not good.
Yeah, yeah. So he could go on a good stretch. He is a hit over glove guy. So I would hope that this, there's some sort of good stretch that comes pretty soon for him. He's done it in the past. He's actually put together some really solid stretches of Major League Baseball in the past. Just none of them have come too recently, and it's been a couple bad stretches recently. So fingers crossed, hoping for the best. I hope it gets better because it can, and if it doesn't, there's quite a few guys, especially when Geloff gets back, that are going to be clamoring for some playing time, and I if it doesn't get much better, that could be a question.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly, in the outfield as well. It's like, if you got, people all up in arms about Esther Ruiz right now. I mean, imagine if like, months time from now and, Seth Brown is still starting like, most of the games in left field at that point. So,
If
I don't know.
Ruiz were to ever go down again and Seth Brown stays on the team, it'd be very disappointing.
Yeah, that would be I mean, I know we throw the term organizational malpractice around all too much, with the A's, but that would be organizational malpractice.
Again.
The disgust in your voice when you said that.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. You good nose you have there to smell that one out.
Yeah.
As geez, yeah. Anyway, let's get positive.
Yeah, let's get positive. I need to wash the taste of Seth Brown out of my mouth. But
Yeah.
You know, so Seth Brown, he can miss a lot, but you know who doesn't miss? Mason Miller.
You said his name.
Yeah, I did say his name, and I'm gonna say it a few more times. So you know how you can miss 100% of the shots you don't take? You know who actually
Yeah.
makes 100% of the shots they take?
Would it be Mason Miller?
Yeah,
Mm,
probably. Yeah. This guy, Mason Miller, he's been the best closer in baseball. I went and said it. Yeah, that's right. This dude has been lights out. He's got 6 saves to his name in this young season. Two of them coming against the Yankees. He's been just blistering fastball mixed with a absolutely wicked slider. Slider? Yeah, it's a slider. So it's a
yeah.
fastball slider combo, and it's literally just his bread and butter. I don't even know if he's throwing another pitch this season besides like a four seam, a 104 mile per hour four seam fastball and his nasty slider combo. He struck out nearly 50% of the hitters that he's faced thus far. That people just can't get past the plate against him. It's crazy. He struck out Aaron Judge in a high leverage situation to win a game. I mean, this is an A's player that's garnering national attention and not for doing something bad. Like he's doing some good stuff, and casual
It's a good
fans are
point.
starting to know this guy's name. The A's guy that casuals knew going into the season was Esther Ruiz. Now they know Mason Miller. Like Esther
Yeah.
Ruiz walked. I wouldn't even say walk because he usually runs, but like ran so Mason Miller could be an absolute flamethrower in the ninth inning.
Just
So,
Bigfoot on the mound.
dude, he's
Like,
so fun to watch. It
yeah.
just yeah, like you just
I don't know if you picked it up, but after I think it was the first Yankees appearance in that series, it was the one where he went Volpe, Soto, Judge.
yeah.
But yeah, just one, two, three, sent them all down, striking out. Soto, I think if he didn't look, then he swung at 103. He swung through it if he swung. And yeah, kind of just once in a while you'll see a guy come in to a game and throw your immaculate inning, throw a near immaculate inning. Not often do you see them come in and do it against two Hall of Famers in their prime. And after Judge struck out, I don't know if this was the part that I don't know if you noticed, but Shea Langoliers, I don't think I've ever seen him smile that much, like after or during a game at any one point. Kind of one of those like holy shit, what just happened moment type of reactions, and it's just fun, kind of that youthful fun energy that we've talked about every now and again. Like he's the best candidate for a guy on this team that can provide something like that because Shea Langoliers looked like a giddy kid kind of running out to, say hi to his dad after a T-ball game. I mean, it was fantastic. So great 3 stars. Couldn't have said or done it better myself.
Thank you. And I agree. Like I feel like it was pretty straightforward with like stars and lumps of coal. Like that's just those were especially like the 3 lumps of coal that was the right pick. Like I mean, I think week to week we can kind of go back and forth on where some of these spots should be. But like that, yeah, that felt right. I like
Yeah,
that.
totally. It's funny too because I feel like there's like a little shred of like feeling bad about giving it to Shea and Boyle, mainly Shea, which is why I only got one. But yeah, it's kind of knew what I had to do with that 3 lumps of coal that I had in my pocket.
And now
Definitely
we got
knew. And yeah,
0.
and your stars were great too. Like there is obviously a like argument to give JP Sears 3 stars and Mason Miller one. Sears pitched technically more innings and is a starter and can contribute more to a given game. But yeah, like when you've got something like Mason Miller on your team and he did what he just did, especially in that Yankee series, it's podcast malpractice not to give him 3 stars.
Yeah. No, I agree. You know, it's must see TV at this point, which I think is if you see the A's nursing a lead in the ninth inning, you got to turn on the TV and watch Mason Miller because he's probably pitching.
Honestly, like, yeah, I agree. And there's not like I'm not one of those people that will like see what someone's doing in curling during prelims and be like, and even if it is historical, be like, oh my god, it's must watch TV, and like look at kind of any big thing that's happening, be like, it's must watch TV. Maybe there's one thing in all of sports at any given time that's must watch TV, and not to say that there is only one and that only one is Mason Miller, but Mason Miller is must watch TV. It's not just the speed of his pitches. Obviously, he throws harder than anyone in the game right now, especially just with the consistency of how often he's in the strike zone too. He's just definitely the best at bat in all of baseball. But it's like the movement, and like I was actually talking to a friend about it recently, and I kind of like this parallel of, like when you'll look and it'll say it's 80 degrees outside, but it feels like 94, you know? Like, I feel like Mason Miller's pitches are like 101, 102, 103, but they look like they feel like 108. Like they look faster than Chapman's heyday pitches, and obviously they weren't according to the radar gun. But there is a certain, we're still uncovering RPM and what spin does to pitches and certain other elements where I wouldn't be surprised if someone was able to do a deep dive with, more numbers than we're privy to right now and be able to say like, oh no, Mason Miller's pitches, they felt like they were coming in the hardest of any guy that's ever played that sport. I'd believe it. So yeah, just as much praise as we can give that guy as possible. Definitely deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, after 7 games, I guess, we were just trying to figure out if the A's are for realsies. Is the jury still out? What are you thinking?
Say it one more time. I'm
It,
sorry.
oh,
Something
you're fine.
flashed over.
So it's been 7 games. The A's have won 2, lost 5, had some really amazing moments, some really not so amazing moments. Are they for real? Do you think they're for real?
It depends on what for real means. For real, as in winning more than 60 games? I think so at this point. I think we've seen enough and seen enough in areas that, like, we didn't expect to see much. And there's enough where I feel like, for example, I think that when Geloff inevitably comes back pretty soon from now, I don't think it's going to be a huge long term thing. But whenever he does get back, I expect him hopefully to be better than a sub 200 hitter, and certain things were going worse than we could even expect them to go. And I do think that the bullpen, I think Mason Miller, as we just talked about, that's very for real. And you need a lot more than a dominant closer to win games in Major League Baseball. But having the dominant closer and the most dominant closer, it's a good start. And to have Ursic to pair with that, like the A's are playing 7 inning games when they want to. And there's very few teams that could even say that without it sounding like a joke. So for the Ace to be able to kind of insinuate such a thing, and then to have a guy like Paul Blackburn, where like another good start from now, we can start to, break out the CY chants, if you know what I'm saying. But there's enough going right here that I think there's evidence to say those things are going right. We can believe that they'll continue to go right enough, for this team to not be a pitiful sub 60 win team. You agree with that, or have a different take? Are you gonna depress the listeners?
I will do my best not to.
All right.
Yeah, cracking 60 wins, yeah, definitely. I think they're good enough for that. Do I think that they're on the fringe of the playoff picture? I don't
I
know.
didn't mean to laugh.
No, it's okay. I think there's still some major flaws with the team. I mean, this is a fun team, I wouldn't say fun. It's a funner team than
It's a
what we
funner
expect.
team than
Funner team.
last year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think so.
I guess it's kind of obvious to say this, but they live and die by the starting pitching. I mean, like when with the exception of Alex Wood's game 4 against the Yankees, they pretty much only had really like chances to win in games where Paul Blackburn and JP Sears have been their starting pitcher. When Alex Wood, Ross Stripling, or Joe Boyle have started, they've maybe dwindled hung around for a bit, but it's just they haven't been able to hang in there. I mean, whether it's like a lack of run support, the pitcher just kind of like loses command, unravels later in a game. It's it's been rough, Like I mean, if you're 3 out of your 5 starters, you haven't been seeing a whole lot of success from. That's tough. It's tough to like win. Expect to be approaching 500 when you almost can't trust 3 of your 5 starters. Alex Wood definitely had a better game in the last Yankees game, which is great because he was really like kind of starting to not pitch like Alex. Well, maybe he was pitching like Alex Wood. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see what Alex Wood is in the year 2024.
I think error wise, they've been cleaning it up. Nick Allen actually curiously still leads the MLB in errors. I know you said that you thought that Nick Allen has actually improved his defense, despite the errors.
Yeah, I just think, let me know if you disagree. I just think like watching, I don't, my heart's not beating as much as it was earlier in the season, which in such a
Yeah,
already short season, it's fine to say that. But like, yeah, there is like a stretch of games where I was kind of nervous every time the ball was hit to Nick Allen, where I feel like after he's made all the routine plays recently, made a couple nice plays and just kind of looks back to being himself. He's not skipping throws either. Recently, I feel good when he's making plays again, which is huge for a guy that leads Major League Baseball in errors, who's supposed to be a glove first guy, and you're starting shortstop in a lot of games. So definitely a big note. And I also think that Ryan Noda's looked awesome defensively,
yeah,
and
he's definitely stepped it up.
yeah, and the numbers prove that too. I mean, he's got a positive outs above average and a positive Statcast fielding run value, which sometimes those stats don't even agree with one another. So the fact that kind of the two main fielding stats that we have as the public both rate him pretty well, and especially across other first basemen. And with some of the awful plays he made earlier in the year, one really awful play and a couple iffy plays, it's really cool that the year long stats are all kind of echoing the same sentiment that he's been good. And then he's made some really nice old diving plays, a couple plays near the line in that Yankee series. So very positive stuff there, and not a bad stretch of games at the plate either. And I think of all guys too, he's one of them that just some of the, he's kind of getting back to walking a bit more often. That maybe he's starting to put it together, kind of the whole thing a bit more. But yeah, happy about him.
Yeah, I think. Well, also, we saw him kind of like get moved to the bench, or even just come in only as a pinch hitter for a few, for some of the first few games of the
He had a little
season.
hand
But
injury too, but yeah, it did feel like some of that might have been like not at the same time when he obviously missed a game or two because of the injury, but there felt like a couple games early on that felt performance based DNPs. So yeah,
yeah,
I
but it's good to
agree.
see that he's kind of like really solidified himself in the first base spot.
Hmm.
The hitting still hasn't been great. The A's have definitely had some instances where they struggle to score with guys in position. I could think of 2 instances during the Cleveland series. I think it was the first it was the first game in the second inning, bases loaded, couldn't get a run to go. In one of the wins against the Yankees, I believe Shane Langeliers was up to bat, bases were loaded, couldn't get it done. They ended up winning that game, but
It might not be the same exact example, but it could have been another time it happened. Was Toro had one of those where he was up with the bases loaded and didn't do anything. Toro's been great though. I mean, all things considered, so not gonna pick on him at all. But
yeah,
yeah, definitely there are some opportunities.
yeah, it's kind of funny though. Like given those, the A's are actually towards the top of the league in the lowest average of runners stranded, but they're also towards the bottom of the league in on base percentage. I guess yeah, they're not stranding a ton of guys, but they're also not getting guys on base at a very high clip.
Yeah,
They're second last to an on base percentage. They're second last to the White Sox, which is kind of a bit of a dubious distinction these days around these parts. But it's weird. It's like I feel like oddly optimistic about a team that went 2-5.
yeah. I mean, seriously, yeah,
I never thought I'd be saying that. Like Max Schumann getting his first hit being a home run. That was sick. Like his first major that was his first major league hit, right? It
yeah.
was a home run. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
yeah. Well,
awesome.
and he almost took one deep. If it wasn't the at bat directly before, it was the at bat before that. in the same game where he crushed another one that I thought was going out off the bat. So a really good game. I was kind of borderline pissed. I was trying to find a better, more elegant word, but I was upset that he didn't start the next game after that one, where he kind of could have had two home runs. Given I'm sure there's some ballparks where both of them go out, but at least almost had two home runs. Gets not benched, but he was on the bench for the next game, and then I think he started the game after that. But then like on the bench again, like on a team where you don't necessarily have the expectations of making the playoffs or making too much noise, you kind of have the freedom to roll with hot hands or see what you have in certain guys. And for a younger guy to come up and swing looks good too. Like I think that they should have given him longer leash isn't a better way of putting it. He's still on the team. He's got to get his at bats, and it's not like I think he got benched based on performance. But I think that the age shouldn't be having too many younger prospects just kind of playing bench roles, playing starting once every 3, 4, or 5 games. Like if you got a young guy, especially if he's already performed here at the big league level, even just a little bit, see what you got at him. Give him everyday playing time. Who are you really missing out on? Seth Brown, if you bench him for a game or two extra. And I hate to be too disparaging of Seth Brown because he's been a good MLB hitter at points in his career, just not recently. But yeah, I was a little upset with the treatment of the shoe. I feel like they should have treated the shoe a bit better.
You got an
And
interest.
one other thing too
Yeah,
about Max Schumann is especially that at bat that it ended up being a fly out, but really I thought might have had a chance to leave the park. He's got a very similar swing path and like swing dismount as A Rod. And M Shoe, is that? Can we start going M Shoe with him?
I
Because
kind of
it's
like the
funny,
shoe, but we can go with them shoe
it's like the
if we're making
body's
that comp.
very upright, and it's like he does a lot with the arms in his swing. It's a very arm heavy, and of course, every hitter is doing a shit ton and getting a ton of power from their lower half. But like, I feel like he's driving more power from his arms than most other guys than the swing itself looks like. And A Rod has said similar stuff in the past of how important his arms were to his swing. A little similar vibe going there. Kind of funny. So yeah, I think we can project the Hall of A-Rod's not a Hall of Famer, so I was about to say we can project the Hall of Fame career. We can kind of say they're similar, and it's not even like we're comparing him to a Hall of Famer, which is pretty nice. It's just some guy named A-Rod.
Yeah, exactly. M shoe.
M Shoe. But yeah,
Oh,
that's
M
all. That's all
shoe.
I've got on the shoe.
M shoe. M shoe. M shoe.
Sad.
Yeah.
But someone else too. I was sorry. Don't
That's
mean to
okay.
cut you off, but there's a guy I was kind of surprised that you didn't talk about in the stars, and like I am and I'm not because like technically he hit 143 in the last 7 games, but Brent Rooker has started the home run hitting a little bit here. He's got 3 in the last 7 games and a 879 OPS in the last 7 games. He started every game too, so he seems fully healthy post injury, and just crushed a couple. One of them like barely got out for first, second row, but 2 of them were crushed. So to have a guy in the lineup that you constantly have to kind of worry about taking you deep, who Shea can become that guy and was that guy for a brief second earlier this year too. More of that, please.
Yeah. I think I felt like I needed a little more out of Brent Rooker to do that. I also wanted to kind of debut the whole get well soon star. I
I
think it
think
was
even though
between
technically Geloff like had a pretty rough stretch. For one, Geloff's defense has by far been the best on the team this year, with the exception of Shea Langoliers, where it's kind of apples and oranges there. And I felt like good situational hitting from Geloff, and just the fact that we are going to really miss him. But Rooker's 879 OPS. I didn't even realize it was that high because again, he hit 143. All of his hits were home runs over the 7 game stretch, but he hit 3 of them, and they just felt big too. I mean, he had 5 ribbies, and no one else even had 2. So definitely thought it was worth mentioning him in a really positive light. Even though I totally get it, 143 average, he is who he is in the field. And 9 strikeouts, so he led the team in strikeouts during this stretch as well. So that's kind of the story of Brent Rooker, I think. Even when you've got the really good here, 3 home runs in 7 days or 7 games, I should say. He's still got 9 strikeouts to 1 walk and 143 average, but Yeah, that I'd bring him up.
Yeah, no, I think he deserves an honorable mention for
Here we
stars.
go.
Yeah, there we go. We'll throw that in there for him.
Lovely.
So I actually
But
learned a new. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was
Oh,
gonna
okay.
ask you what else you got.
Yeah, so I learned a new word that the kids are saying out here.
Mm.
Um, that no, I learned a new word, and it's Italian slang, and it means like fake or phony or messed up. It's fugazi. Fugazi.
Fugazi.
Fugazi. Yeah, there you go. I
Fugazi.
gotta say it with a little bit of oomph
Ah,
to it.
little Tommy DeVito in there.
I could. Yeah, lest we forget. NFL Hall of Famer for the New York Giants, Tommy DeVito.
Yeah.
The things that
Represented by Italian Hall of Fame, Italian Sports Hall of Famer, Italian American Sports Hall of Famer. How could I forget the honor? But anyway, not to sidetrack you.
no, you're fine. I noticed that Fugazi has the word. You can't spell Fugazi without the A's. Now, that's not to say that the
Hmm.
A's. That's not to say that the A's are fakers. I think it's
No, no,
still
no.
it's still I think it's still kind of we got to add a bit of a question mark to the end of that. Fugazi, because we're not sure. We're not sure what the A's are made of yet.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So ripping off two straight, well, not two straight, but ripping off two wins against the Yankees, splitting the series. Fugazi? I don't know.
No, that would be the
I think
evidence.
that was. I think
No
that's
Fugazi.
no Fugazi. But this is a weird team, and they got swept by the Guardians because I guess they just get swept by the Guardians. That's just like they don't play well against them. I don't know. Like Stephen Voigt. Hope I'm
Yeah,
saying that
yeah.
right.
Vote.
Stephen Vogt. Might just be the A's kryptonite,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you
He has
know,
him figured out.
yeah, Fugazi. That's
Well, no,
ridiculous.
but like you said, Fugazi.
Fugazi, because I
Because I'm
think
with you. They're 2-5, but I think we talked about at one point a couple days ago they could have won two of those Cleveland games. They didn't, but like it felt like they could have, and they were in those games past the first 4 or 5 innings. So like 2-5, two wins against the Yankees, who are probably going to finish the year with a top 5-6 record in all of baseball, and it's in New York in the Bronx against the Yankees. To split that and then to almost win, or if not almost win, at least have a chance to win a couple of those Cleveland games, and then coming off of the stretch that they're coming off of, like I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe they're only fugazi if we are too high on them. If we are kind of saying that they are the prodigal son and they're making the playoffs and they're doing all this, then they would probably be fugazi. But as long as we stay humble with this humble squad of ours, um, I'm gonna emphasize that question mark. Maybe no fugazi.
no Fugazi. Yeah, I like that.
Maybe.
Maybe, but you know who
Then they
is?
lose 10 straight games, and I look fugazi. Um,
I look fugazed. You know who is Fugazi?
who?
Jose Abreu.
I think
Yeah.
I know where you might be going with this.
So we yeah, you sent me a thing objectively comparing his season so far to a rock.
Mm.
And right now the rock is beating him in WAR. I mean, sure, Jose Abreu actually has like a batting average and slashing, but his OPS plus I think is negative. So I think the Rock's got him there, and the Rock's got him in WAR because they have a negative WAR. So
Yeah.
Jose Abreu, Fugazi.
It's why war is such a dumb stat. Like it is and it isn't. I think it's good, and it would be great to at some point have a war type stat that like we could all feel really good about. But it is very ironic that if you kind of isolated war, or even like X War and some of the other ones you mentioned, another one that The Rock had a Abreu beat on, is like the fact that you could have a stat that a literal rock, you could say objectively is outplaying Abreu. Bad stat, maybe. I don't know. Again, war itself, and I like the idea of an all-encompassing stat to just say how good of a player someone is, especially compared to other players at their position. But we can't have Rock beating out Abreu when it comes to statistics. We can't have it.
You know who else Fugazi?
Who's that?
The Houston Astros.
Mucho fugazi. I'll utilize a few different cultures with that one. Yeah, they've been bad. A lot of the same players as the past couple of years too.
This is weird because, I think you and I are kind of getting used to the feeling that, we're not in the basement of the AL West anymore. And we've just rented it out to the Houston Astros because they're
I wonder
fakers.
if they say that to each other and like, all right, here's a fun game that we can kind of like nearly end with. Um, who if it has happened, so that's part of it. If saying if you think it has happened, but if it has, who is the one that just kind of brought up after a loss on the Houston Astros, like we're losing to the A's? Like who's the first person that said that? Because I would like to think someone on the Astros. I'm gonna say Bregman was the first to kind of whip
Yeah,
out his phone one day and kind of be like, "Oh shit."
they're. I don't. I like. I don't. I don't even think that it would be hit. Like, I don't know why Jeremy Pena came to mind for me, but like, I
he's
think.
young, he's rambunctious. You know
I,
what Jeremy Pena thought? Jeremy Pena mentioned it, thinking that it was going to be a joke and some guys were going to laugh, and he kind of said it, chuckling as well. No one laughed. Everyone kind of just beamed into his soul with their eyes, and he lost a little innocence that day. I like that world. I want to live in that world.
yeah. So Jeremy Pena is the one that makes a comment about losing to the A's. I think
Yeah.
that's where we'll settle with that. Yeah.
If it ever comes out, don't you know
You heard it here
we're
first.
not. Yeah, you heard it here first, and we might tell you we told you so. I was about to say we're not going to tell you we told you so, but we might if that
Yeah.
if there's a Ken Rosenthal report that Jeremy Pena lost a little love in the clubhouse comparing them to the A's, we're gonna take our victory lap. I hope
Yeah.
you all know.
Yeah.
Um,
So there's that. The
that is, I
A's.
feel good. That felt good talking
Yeah,
about how bad the Astros are.
it did.
We should do that more often.
We should. The Astros are a top 30 team in the MLB right now. I'll even say.
As are the A's. Hell yeah.
Yeah, as are the A's. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Not a bad place to be. Anything else? Did we cover it all?
I think we did.
I'm just going back to the old notes.
Yeah, I
Um,
covered everything I wanted to cover.
no, one very little like thing I wanted to mention at some point is it's kind of funny. Of course, Darrell Hernandez is back after Geloff goes down, and he had a really solid last game against the Yankees. But even going into that game, he led the team in outs above average, which is a compilation stat. Like that's a stat that like you add to over like the more games you play, the better of a chance you have of putting together a good outs above average. To lead the team there, well, not even getting regular playing time when he was up and then going down to the Myers for a short stint, keep your eyes on Hernandez in the field. It's been very good so far,
Yeah,
in the simplest terms.
I'm glad he's found his way back up. He's yeah, his defense has been like, at major league caliber, which is great.
Above. It's just
Yeah,
been
even
even better.
above.
It's been really good. And I'm wondering if that's gonna go kind of where he obviously just watching him play is an above average defender, but I wonder if he's a elite defender or not. And I guess that's something to look forward to finding out.
Yeah. And look at that. We ended on some good news.
Yeah, how about that? We're a bad news first podcast. All right. Come on.
Yeah, we are.
Come on now.
So once again,
But
the A's are about to embark on a 3-game road trip to Baltimore to face the Orioles, and then that's going to be followed up by, I believe, a 3-game homestand against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So we'll be tuning in. We're going to have a lot to say about how the A's fare against the pipeline teams, I guess we can call them. And yeah, I think by the end of that Pirates series, we're going to have a pretty good idea of where the A's stand, at least in the first chunk of the season.
I really agree with you, and I like couldn't have said it better myself. But I think we've said that after every series or after every episode is after this next stretch of games, we'll have a good idea. I'm starting to feel like we're never gonna know who these guys are, and I'm starting to become okay with that.
They're surprising us in ways that we did not expect, and
Yeah.
that's fun. I think that's what kind of makes them moderately fun to watch. Is that they're surprising us in ways that we didn't expect.
It's like a really weird onion.
Yeah, a glass onion?
No, no, no.
No.
And
Okay.
see that I don't like the whole glass onion thing. Is like that's so less perplexing than an actual onion because you look at it once, you can't cut into it, you can't smell it. It's nothing. It's see through. But a real onion, there's layers, maybe a different scent than you're used to, and you can cut into it, you can interact with it, there's things that you can do with it. I think that this A's team potentially might be a very real onion.
And with that, I guess we're gonna wrap that up for today. We'll see you next time.
Peace.